How does it feel when someone violates a boundary, whether you've said it or not, what's okay with you, what's not okay with you, and someone kind of tramples all over that? What do you notice in your body? I know that I've certainly had instances where my boundaries have felt violated. So we're going to talk about that in this particular video, discussing what boundaries can look like, how we can establish them, how we can continue to support ourselves and others in our relationships using boundaries. Hello, fabulous. I hope today is treating you kindly. We're going to talk about boundaries today, which can be a sensitive subject for some, I recognize. At the same time, boundaries are incredibly important. And essentially, all they are is just delineating what is okay with you, what actions, what behaviors, what engagements are acceptable to you, and what things are not. And these don't have to be a bad thing. I know there's a lot of interesting ideology around boundaries, but I think we're just going to simplify it today. I'm sure you probably have heard the old phrase, good fences make good neighbors. And there's a very solid reason for that, because a fence is a very tangible and physical barrier that delineates where the lines are, like what's the boundary between your space and my space. And when that's extremely clear, it helps those around you to understand what might be acceptable behavior and what might be an encroachment on your boundaries, an encroachment on your space. And space can be more than just the physical space that we take up. It can also be like the energetic or the emotional space that we take up, right? This is why when I talk to people about things that are going on in my universe, I like to ask if they have space for me. Do you have emotional space, the emotional availability for me to share what's going on in my universe and get some support? And if they don't, it's acceptable. It's totally fine, because then I know, okay, you're not in a space where you can support me right now. That doesn't mean you can't support me ever. It just means right now I need to be respectful of that space, that boundary. So let's start thinking about what that can mean for us and maybe lean into figuring out how to establish those boundaries. So, a really, really solid indicator is what your body tells you, what physical sensations you experience when a boundary that you're not aware of, or maybe a boundary that hasn't been firmly communicated the same way as like a fence would be to others. Like, what happens when that gets overstepped? What happens when your kids continue to send mail to your house even though they haven't lived there for like 5-10 years? What happens when a neighbor continually uses your driveway as their own kind of personal parking space? What happens when a loved one, family member, friend, or a colleague even asks for multiple favors or multiple supports or whatever, and doesn't it the relationship doesn't feel reciprocal? What do you notice in your physical body? Just let's take a minute to reflect on a specific instance, and we'll just allow whatever that instance is to come to mind where you noticed that a boundary felt violated, something was not okay with you, and just notice how that feels in your body. When a boundary is violated in my world, for example, I will notice an increase in respiration, an increase in blood pressure, also sometimes an increase in heart rate. I'll notice that I stop being able to think as clearly because I can get emotional, and I can feel angry about not feeling respected, not feeling like my boundaries are important enough to be honored. Now, understand when we're talking about boundaries that people, generally speaking, don't mean to violate these. Again, it might just be as simple as it's not clear, like a fence or a wall. Like this, it's just not clear to them where the line is. So it's very easy to overstep. Most people don't mean to. They just don't always realize. There are folks who do overstep intentionally, and we can definitely work to address that as well. Certainly see the video on energetic conversations to help support yourself with those individuals who overstep regularly and knowingly. But for the general populace, let's go ahead and work on firming up those boundaries and what they look like and how we can express those to others in a way that the line is clear. There's a fence now. And that's not to keep people out and keep you in. It's just to let people know where the lines are. This is okay with me, and anything on the other side of this line is not okay with me. And natural consequences, which are to be determined by you. So, for example, like with maybe a child who is struggling, who's an adult, who's struggling to kind of really solidify their autonomy, what can a boundary look like for this child? Would it be something along the lines of, I appreciate that you feel comfortable and safe in my home and that you would like to continue, sending your mail here or doing your laundry here or staying here on the weekends or whatever the thing is. You decide where the line is and just create natural consequences. I would love for you to continue to feel safe and supported in my home. The best way for me to continue to do that looks like this. This is the line. I need you to have your mail sent to your own house, or get your things out of my basement, or I need you to respect my privacy and you can come, like, call me before you come over, or whatever the thing is, whatever feels aligned to you. And notice it might feel a little icky. Like there might feel like there's this resistance, like, oh my God, do I have the right to do this? Like, pay attention to those sensations in your body. Your body's never going to lie to you. Energy doesn't lie, it can't. It's going to tell you honestly how you feel and what is aligned and what isn't. And if something feels icky, you don't have to immediately jump from, oh, you're cut off from my life. You can just create whatever space for yourself, extend that line, extend your fence line to whatever degree feels comfortable for you. And then you can always move it. You can always move it. And you can always invite people to participate with you in the setting of boundaries. So you can create space to have just a candid and honest conversation with those individuals in your life that you feel like you need to establish better boundaries. What this can look like, again, you can utilize energetic conversations if maybe it doesn't feel feasible for whatever reason to have the conversation out loud with the person. Or you can just have a candid conversation like, I love you so much. How can I respect my space and my needs while also honoring you and your space and your needs? And a lot of times people will be really open to these conversations. And again, it's presented from a space of love, because ultimately that's what a boundary is. Letting people know how to engage with you in the best way possible improves that interaction. It improves that relationship, because this way people know what's acceptable to you, what isn't, what the actual consequences would be. Like, for example, if you're going to speak to me in this disrespectful tone, which I don't appreciate, this conversation is over. We can have a conversation again when you are better able to engage with me. Maybe you've had some time to process your emotions. Maybe you're really upset right now, or maybe I'm really upset right now, and I can't speak to you in a way that is going to be supportive of our relationship. I need space to process this. Please give me space. Give me 2-3 days or 2-3 weeks, whatever it is, to work through this issue, and we can address again at that time. Simple, easy. And it's not necessarily a difficult task to accomplish, but if this is not something that you've felt empowered to do before, it can definitely be a really interesting challenge, a growth opportunity, as it were, to give you space to state your needs so that others can be mindful and respectful of those needs. You can feel honored within yourself, and you can teach people a new way to honor you, which most people that you engage with want to honor you. They want to engage. They want to have that relationship. So this is a great way to allow them to do that. So I hope that this information has been helpful. If you have questions or you have ideas about how to create boundaries or some things that you've done that have worked really, really well for you, please leave those in the comments below. I would love to hear them. Also, if this video has been helpful to you, please like subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all my latest and greatest content. Comments, shares, likes, subscribers, these are all ways that I learn how to best support you, because that's what this channel is for, is to support you. Just living your life the best way that you know how. Be gentle with yourself in the coming days. Be sure to drink plenty of water. And thank you with glitter on it for spending time with me today. I hope that you have a sparkly rest of your day.